So hi, this is Pankaj. Seshu was supposed to present, and he would have been much more articulate than I am. So I'm sorry you guys are stuck with a poorer presentation than it would have been. This is the time I usually wake up. I had to wake up much earlier today, so I'll be even in a worse mood than I usually am. So that's what it is. Okay, so let me share my screen and get started. If you don't hear me, just let me know and I'll try and adjust. So basically, this is an Anuket and XGVela joint session to talk about a platform as a service survey that the two groups have put together. Anuket has been working on standardizing the IA, the infrastructure as a service specifications. But as anybody will say that, or as anyone who has done any sort of integration, they will tell you that is the first piece. The next piece is getting hold of or creating common services, because otherwise you still have the same problem that we used to have before, which is about how to integrate and test all of these common services. I am going to put the link to the survey in the chat. It is in this on this page also, but if you cannot get access to this page or the link, I've just posted it in the chat. And we'll go through the survey. Hopefully we'll get feedback from you with respect to the categories that we have selected. Are these the right categories? Would you choose other ones? And also the services that we have defined under those categories, and then some of the open source and other software that we have specified against those services. Seshu, if I missed something, or the other people who are here from XGVela that participated in drafting of this survey, please chime in. So,
sure, Pankaj, will do. Thank you.
Yeah. We have other people here, you know, Vance Shipley, Saad, and Lee. There are quite a few people from XGVela who were part of drafting this survey. Okay. And if you have any questions, just interrupt. So, all right. So get back to the survey. Basically, the idea, as I said, was as we try and integrate the software that we have to run on the infrastructure, it is very hard to integrate and also to test because of all the combinations that are possible. So XGVela was set up to define the telco PaaS. What are the services that are important for telco operators to define network services? And they found that in defining the telco PaaS, first of all, it needs to rely on some basic PaaS services. I don't know if you can see my mouse move.
Yeah, anyway, we can. You're good.
Everything that is in this blue box defined as the general PaaS on which the telco PaaS services will build. Separately, Anuket was also discovering that they have to increasingly define these services. And from the very beginning of what used to be CNTT, there had been work on load balancers as a service, for example, and other PaaS elements that were included, even though they were beyond IaaS. And recently, in the last couple of months, we had decided to formally introduce PaaS services, and that was discussed in the February virtual face-to-face, that like the one we are holding right now. And we started the collaboration with XGVela to define those PaaS services. So this survey is an outcome of those PaaS services, because what we want to get from you and other people who will participate in the survey is to define the common services that we can build on. Obviously, they will have to be prioritized because there are just too many services. And the survey basically selects some categories, as I said before, that we want to start with. And within those categories, what are the services, and within those services, what are the software elements? So we want to get feedback from you before this survey goes out to see if these are the right categories, what would you change? And within these categories, for example, application definition and development is one category, and within that we have data stores, databases, streaming, messaging, other services. And within the services, we have a number of software elements. Which of these you would change? So we want that feedback. Obviously, in this session, there's not enough time to capture all of the feedback, but hopefully you can provide the feedback either by selecting and putting a comment. If you have not done that before, you have to be logged in to do that.
Hey, Pankaj?
Sorry, yeah.
Just a question here. Isn't all this information available from like Gartner Group or IDC about the preferred components here?
Yeah, what they do is they get some of the information there and they weight it, etc. But they haven't defined it for all PaaS. For example, what are the categories? And within the categories, yes, for databases, you will get the information, but some of it is commercial, not open source. So this is more of an open source set of software categories. And we would rather get it from the operators as well as the communities that participate with Anuket and XGVela, as well as Linux Foundation.
Thank you.
No, I don't know if that answered the question or not, or if I just BS through this. So, sorry, you can also provide comments at the bottom. And so let me get through some of the important dates. Okay.
It's about.
Sorry, yeah. So today is the introduction to the survey. We would like to collect all feedback before the end of 12th of June. I know it's a short time, but what we want to do is send the survey out and get responses and then publish the outcome. What is going to happen is when the surveys come back, we are going to analyze and all the stuff. And remembering that July is a period when a lot of folks go on vacation, we think that in August or September, we can publish the outcome of the survey. Okay. So coming back, I'm sorry. We have a number of categories here. The first one, the definition and development. We have tried to capture some of these application categories from well-known sources, for example, CNCF. Next is orchestration and management, provisioning, observability and analysis. And then we have created a category where we have left it open for the survey respondents, sorry, where they come at their own categories and other stuff that they would do. The original survey that Anuket and XGVela folks had created was much, much longer. And we had to trim it in the interest of people being able to respond, etc. So this is somewhat a shortened survey. Within the categories, we have the actual software services. The combination like streaming and messaging, could it have been separated out? Yes, because the two are different. But some of the software is common, so we have decided to keep them together. Application development, CI/CD, service proxy, load balancing, service mesh, and network services. Then you go into orchestration management, and you have the other services defined here.
Hey, Pankaj?
Yes, sir. Jim?
Would you the key question here that you're trying to answer is what are the components in this are the services, right?
Yes, one is, the first question is this the right set of categories to
Right.
to concentrate on
problem.
initially? Concentrate on initially.
Yeah.
Within these categories, is this the right set of services that we should focus on?
Would you like to end up with a discussion group, or you want just yes, no answers on everything? Or
No. What would happen is within the box, sorry, thank you, Jim, for asking that question. Within the box, you are asked to rate them from 1 to 10. So if you go in over in the instructions, the box is there to basically enter 1 lowest to 10 highest. Okay. So for example, if I think this is not that important, I may rate this as 1. Okay. And then within this, I may rate this. Yes, it is the lowest priority, but if that was the case, yes, data stores is very important, 10. I can give 10 to multiple sections if you want, but hopefully people don't give 10 to everything. Okay. And now if I am, in the containerized or cloud native world, I probably put etcd and Ceph as higher priorities. If I am in the OpenStack world, I may go with some of the other ones as high priorities. It will also depend upon what your organization is using. I don't know if that answered your question, Jim.
It does. Thank you. I was basically wanting to provoke you to describe.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So basically, what would happen is we are using SurveyMonkey to test the survey out, and this would show up as a box where you basically make up an entry. Okay. Unfortunately, in here there was no possibility of creating a box. We could have created a square bracket like thing here, but then it takes that as a set some other thing, and then you have to basically create it like this manner for it to appear, and that would have been the box to enter your value, if you will. Does that make sense? All right. Okay, I don't want to change this. Are there any questions so far?
Are you concerned about sampling bias, that you might oversample one company or anything?
Yes, so thank you again. What we want to capture over here is, and this is just a tick mark that you have to make. So for example, if I was filling this one in, I would fill it in as a telco operator. Okay. So the choices are: you are a telco operator, you're a network function vendor, you're a cloud service provider, cloud software. You could be multiple, right? A telco operator could be a cloud services provider, or a network function vendor could also provide other software and hardware. So it is possible to select multiple options here. In our analysis, we are going to use this to address what Jim pointed out, try and address, I'm sure it was going to be complex and difficult, biases in the survey. So if only telco operators filled in the survey and very few of the others, then obviously it will be telco operator weighted, and we will have to see what to do. One of the considerations is that based on the responses, we will use weighted utility measures to basically weigh all responses.
So Pankaj, do you have a list of organizations you want to send, or this is actually
that is a question for Jim and others in the LFN group.
Yeah, can I make a comment that I thought that the AIML survey, which went out to the LFN membership, we got 66 responses, and it was a mix. It was both
That's good.
telcos and vendors, and a couple academics too, I think. So I thought that was a pretty successful targeted audience. So, and I don't know what the pool is, but I was pretty pleased with the response rate, or rather the responses. I thought they were valid.
So Beth, for that one, and this is Brandon, we used a combination of the LFN project mailing lists along with the LFN subscriber list for the newsletter. And we also partnered with the LF AI community, seeing the relevance there. We cross-promoted to that group. So as we look for distribution around this one, we can follow a similar pattern.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, my only comment on that, yes, I would agree with you. But I think we might have trouble getting to the cloud service providers, because I don't think they're heavily represented on your lists.
Yes, that is true. They will be the case, but we also have certain telco operators who are cloud service providers, and there are certain other providers that are also providing cloud services now, whether they are providing it in the public arena or they are basically setting up, for example, in telco operator environments.
Right.
You could be a company that is providing all kinds of software, but then you have developed a cloud service, and then you are installing it in the telco operator's
Right.
environment.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how you determine that. I mean, I'll just give you an example. Verizon doesn't offer any public cloud services particularly.
Yeah, true.
But we do, we do have some services that are hosted.
And internally, doesn't your IT provide lots of cloud service?
Oh yeah, internally, yeah, obviously we do, but we don't compete directly with Microsoft Azure or AWS or Salesforce or any of those cloud companies that are considered more traditional cloud services.
The question was, we could put this as a public cloud service provider, but then it would have precluded, for example, software vendors who are providing cloud platforms for their services to telco operators, for example.
Yeah, but if I see that term cloud service provider, I immediately assume it's public.
Okay, so maybe what we can do is we can add public cloud service provider, and we can add cloud service platform provider.
Yeah. I think that's the better way to do it, because there certainly are platform providers that aren't necessarily
all right,
known by the customer.
We have changes over here, and what I'll do is highlight them. So this is changed, and maybe bold it also. Really draw attention that this is changed. Okay, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, so what may happen is that a number of cloud service providers may show up also providing cloud service platforms.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And Pankaj, it's Al.
Yes.
First off, good morning. And one thing we keep hearing when we list, telco operator, I think it came up in Anuket charter discussions, for example, was that we want to also be inclusive of enterprise networks. Is it possible to do that with a category in the survey? Thank you.
So that's a good point. I agree.
So you would like the question becomes is, would everyone become an enterprise?
No, I think.
So how would you capture it? So Al or Beth, how would you
Yeah.
want to capture it?
Just, I mean, there's a lot of, I would simply say enterprise networks, network operator.
Do you want just enterprise network operators?
Yeah, I think that'll do it. Does that sound okay to others?
Yeah. Well, enterprise, why don't we just say enterprises?
But everybody is an enterprise, right?
Well, yeah, okay. But
Probably
we don't want to use the term operator.
Yeah, I agree. Just choose enterprise network. That
Yeah, enterprise network is fine. Yeah.
operator is the very, is strictly tied, it's not right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, that works for me.
I have a question. This is Michael Salmon, Verizon. So you're already getting the company's name, right? And I think the last survey, there were under 100 respondents. Is that correct?
Company name, the reason why we want the company name is to, again, weight it because we don't want it coming from one or weighted by a single company.
But I don't think we, I know for the AIML one, although the company name is embedded in the survey, we don't, the white paper will not have the company.
Yeah, exactly. So the survey, this is just for weighting purposes.
I mean, I have no question. I mean, I think it makes perfect sense to add that question. So that was only simply a clarification. So given that, right, and more importantly, in the first survey iteration, there were under 100 responses. That's correct, right? Like 75, Beth, I think
66.
66. So just pointing out that organizations have different terms internally, how they represent themselves to their customer base.
Mhm.
And I think we all know that, right? There's platform as a service, software as a service, all those, that's not even here. So I think at some point you might want to consider just whether there's even going to be a manual QA and scrub of this, because one, people could click the wrong thing that you might interpret it at, and then you put some nice charts together, and then you're going off of kind of different directions. So unless we think that the promotion of this is going to generate a huge scale more respondents, you could even take the company name and compare it against business index lists, which do exist, of course, that give you categorizations of these of these organizations, in other words. So, and that could be probably more accurate, or at least as a double check.
Yeah, I would use it as a double check. Yeah.
So for survey analysis, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea for when doing the survey analysis to validate the data that has been provided.
Yeah.
This is Kenny Paul. It could be possible. I would put this more in a corner case category, but it could be possible for a company, if you go to Crunchbase or whatever and determine, what category it is, for a company to be providing services externally and services internally for their own enterprise. I don't think there's a need to go and try and seek clarification of that, but the potential does exist.
Well, actually, that's a good point. And I just even wonder further, do we know how many of because Linux Foundation itself has a CRM. Like, I know there's the Salesforce instance, I've seen it, talking to some of the executives there. So that said, Crunchbase, right, has categorizations. I would guess, that the Salesforce instance for Linux Foundation would have that also tagged, and it seems totally reasonable to leverage it here. Obviously, it's a question maybe for even the legal team, but if they're doing their CRM activities right, they would be certainly segmenting it basically, right? And for their own marketing purposes. So the subsequent question from that to ask is really what mix of members were respondents in the first iteration of the survey? Because I know obviously it was on the mailing lists and so forth, and you don't have to be a member for being on those. My suspicion is it's probably majority members, but obviously I don't know. But pointing it out that that data source does exist, maybe also complement to help do the cleansing along with Crunchbase, which is great also.
Yes. Hi, Jim here, Jim Baker. Quick response. That was a very loaded question with lots of different facets. So first, a couple of responses. Yes, we do have a CRM. Yes, we will be using it to segment the market. In the coming year, you'll see landscapes starting to appear on all of our digital properties where we are using Crunchbase data in conjunction with our CRM to display the memberships. This will also be the basis for the badging program, Anuket Assured, where we are able to display all the badges, the companies that have behind that, and the product, the specific product mentioned, perhaps even. Anyway, we are going down that path of using our CRM to help us better represent our customer base and also understand respondents. And there's a lot of, anyway, I'll stop there.
Okay, cool. I just want to add, it wasn't intended as a loaded question. So yeah, it wasn't added with any color. It was just from a technical perspective. So, but I interface with Mike Waster a lot. So I think he could vouch for that probably not being a loaded question. So I just don't want to leave the wrong impression, but thanks for the clarification, Jim.
I meant loaded only in the sense that there were many parts to the question.
Okay, cool. Yeah, fair enough.
Any other questions? We have just a couple of minutes and I want to respect everybody's time. What I want to point out is that under every category, there is an extra box to enter information for services that the respondents may want to add and any other things. And this box is in addition to, at the end, the remarks that are there. So this provides you much more flexibility, but within each of the categories, there is also additional space to enter things that you would like to prioritize. Okay. So to summarize, basically this survey, we are seeking your feedback. The link is on the minutes page over here, and I also put it in the chat.
Pankaj, can I just ask you a quick question?
Yes, Saad. Yes, please.
Yeah, just like one is very useful and information, but it's a lot of information, right? I just want to understand, like once the survey results are with us, how we can use this information, like in Anuket, in XGVela, in ONAP, maybe, like how to, what is our target after the results are there? Yeah, thank you.
So one of the things that hopefully we'll get is a sense of the software services that are important, okay? Like these. What are the important software services that should be included in a PaaS? And what may come out is that depending on, hopefully it doesn't come out that way, but maybe for telco, the results that are telco operator oriented, go into the more of the telco PaaS things, and for Anuket, it becomes some more general and there may be more variations. Hopefully those variations are few. So getting the category. Within the category, hopefully we can reduce the possible combinations of software that people are using. Yeah. For example, if everybody is using Prometheus or 90% of the people are using Prometheus, then just like ODEM over here, we could say that is a single PaaS service for use. Okay. And that reduces the number of combinations that people have to integrate and test against. So Saad, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's clear. Thank you.
Right, guys, that was the end of the session. My watch indicated with the alarm, as you guys heard. Thank you very much. And hopefully, please, you can put comments in the Slack channel, as was said earlier. You can also put your comments here. If I missed not adding something, please do go ahead and add it. And then, most importantly, please review the survey. Please provide us feedback before the 12th of June, and enjoy the rest of the conference as well, the rest of your day. Thank you very much.